Okay, so welcome everyone to our Wednesday night team Zoom call. It is Wednesday, July 20th, and our topic tonight is talking with doctors. And she's not really a special guest, she's just a very special part of this team, but she's taken the spotlight tonight as Dr. Kathy Hilwa, who most of you know in all of the online stuff as Abigail Doodle. And I'm going to jump right in to make sure she has enough time and share a little bit about how our relationship came to be and how she wound up starting her journey with Isagenix. So Kathy was my doctor in Connecticut. She and her husband Jim have a private practice in Colchester, which is where I moved from at the end of last year. So it's July of 2016. I first shared with Kathy at the end of 2012. I was starting my health coaching practice, and I actually was offering my services and support to her in regards to her patients. And I did mention Isagenix, but I was definitely focused on it for her patients. And I was actually getting up to get ready to leave, and something told me to actually ask her if she might be interested in this for herself, either my health coaching or the Isagenix opportunity. And lo and behold, she actually said yes. So that's a first clue. And Kathy's going to talk a little bit more about the fact that doctors are just human beings. So she said yes. So Kathy started with my 6-month health coaching program in early 2013. It wasn't until the end of 2014, so 2 years. What, Tara? 2 years after I first mentioned Isagenix to her that she said she was ready. And I actually think that it might have been her husband Jim that said it first. It's kind of a toss-up. Maybe she can clarify. So they started in early of 2015. And it wasn't until June of 2015 that she either texted or we had a conversation, and she said, it's time for me to start sharing this with my patients. They deserve to have access to this awesome nutrition. So she and I sat down and came up with a game plan. And one thing that she and I did was create an ideal health questionnaire that Kathy and Jim share with their patients now. And in the past year, between the two of them, they have referred approximately 40 people that are now that much healthier, and they're continuing to share this on a regular basis with a lot of passion and commitment. And Kathy, I just want to say before I turn it over to you how grateful I am for our relationship, for the fact that you trusted me and chose to say yes and have taken this on for yourself and for your patients. And for everybody else, make sure you post in the chat tab as she's talking, because she's going to be leaving some time for questions. And so if you have any questions, go ahead and post them, and I'll make sure that we get those answered. So Kathy, thank you for everything, and take it away.
First of all, thank you. You were persistent for 2 years. You know it takes that long sometimes for me. Okay, I'm going to take breaks periodically if there's questions that come up. So feel free to pop them in anytime. First of all, the most important thing I want to say is that doctors are people. We are not infused with special powers. We're not some beings from somewhere else that have no connection to the real world. I think sometimes, in addition to police officers, attorneys, and priests, we get a little bit kept to the edges. People don't want to necessarily get into some conversations with us because of different relationships. So I like everybody to know one thing not to do is don't be afraid of your doctor or any other doctor. Anybody that you may have a special relationship with. Your children's doctor, your dentist, your chiropractor, anybody. Talk to them like people. We really appreciate being involved in our patients' lives. Not all of us maybe, but I'll speak for myself. There's a different relationship that you've already started. And as we always talk about Isagenix, the whole thing starts with that relationship. So build on it. When you go in for your visits with your doctors, that's what I'm going to start focusing on. Talk to your doctor like they're another person, like the person in line in the grocery store, like your hairdresser. They're just another person. I know I'm going to talk a little bit about one of Mike Janis's doctors that he signed up. And it's a very nice example of how you see the doctor as the person. And Mike talked to him a little bit about how he was doing. And he said, seeing your results were what encouraged me. They're really what personally got me driven to start this program. So this is a doctor learning from and seeing something from their patients. So this is a two-way street. So we hope that our patients are going to start sharing this with us. And Mike's doctor has had many improvements in his health, knowing that we do not cure, treat, or diagnose illness. We do improve health. And by improving overall health, we see those other changes. And I see them in the patients that are involved in the program with me every day. In addition to my own personal successes, I take theirs kind of personally as well. And that's a good thing for us. And then we as physicians share with other people, not just our social group, but our patients. As Genevieve said, we start out our conversations with our patients by handing them the purple page. It's on purple paper to get everybody's attention. That's the health questionnaire. It's on the front of their chart when they walk in the room. If they or I don't think about starting the health conversation, that's going to do it for us. So it's a good start. But it's also important to know that we as physicians will also use these products. And I'll tell you, I would much more likely hear from somebody that has personal experience than from somebody who's standing telling me what to do. Do as I do, not as I say. And the patients hear from their physicians the same way. But I also want that to be a two-way street. I asked my husband, because he wouldn't be on camera, but he would do an interview with me, what he personally thinks about the program. What he as a person, not as a doctor, thinks about the program. And he said that what he takes away from it and what he shares with people is that the shakes and the bars are easy. They fit into life. You should use them. He says he tells them they keep him from being hungry, from picking on things he shouldn't be eating. He doesn't get the big lull in the afternoon. He doesn't get the big drop after he does his meals. And he says he always tells them they've got a dinner option. They can choose some things they like to eat and eat them. So it's not just getting packets of food and somebody else's choices. So he brings those things to his patients as well. So those are things, experiences, and can bring forward. So remember, your doctors are these people that are going to want to know about this before they start telling other people about it. We're really careful individuals. We carefully vet what we do and what we say. So the more we can experience it ourselves, give firsthand information, the better off it is. So that's the first piece. Doctors are people. Communicate with your doctor like you would with anybody else. If your relationship isn't there, get it there. If it gets there, think about whether that's the relationship that it should be. I don't like to tell anybody to leave doctor, but sometimes it's just not a good fit. And don't be afraid of that being the case. If you are passionate about what you're doing and you can't get the people in life involved, you got to keep trying. So that's my first point. Doctors are people. People are doctors, whichever the way that goes. So that's my first and most important point, because I think, as I said, we get a little lost in the shuffle. All right, ready? Want to hear how you get into a conversation at an office visit? First of all, time is of the essence. You're going to have 2 to 3 minutes to get my attention. Otherwise, I'm moving on. We've got 15 to 20-minute appointments. You want a piece of that? You got to get right in there. You got to get my attention. You got to get me interested. How do you do that? Be enthusiastic. If I don't start the conversation by saying, I see your blood pressure is down. I see your weight is down. I see you look good. If I don't bring it up for me. Say to me, doctor, I don't know if you noticed I've lost XYZ pounds since our last visit. Or, I know you can't see this by looking at me, but I'm sleeping tremendously better since the last time I was here. Bring it up. Tell me about it. I'm not going to ask every question imaginable. If there's something that you're proud of, that you're excited about, tell me. That's going to get my attention, as much as if you walked in 40 pounds lighter. I need to hear how important it is to you. This is a team effort. And you're going to have about 15 to 30 seconds to get going. And then we're going to be going on to whatever our agenda was already in our minds for the visit. So I tell people, take your 30-second story, make it a 15-second story. Last time I was here, we talked about how I needed to lose some weight. I've recently been introduced to a plan that I think is going to help me do that, and I've started it, and I'd really like your input. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. Don't waste time. Get right into it. How important is it? What do I want it to do for me? And then tell me a little bit about it. And that really works. I think patients would get my attention if they come in enthusiastic about something. I'm going to cover what I have to cover, but if there's something you want to talk about, bring it out there. Right at the start. And the other thing that you can do, remember, doctors are people. We like to be complimented as much as you do. Come in and ask your doctor, how are you? What have you been doing? If they have kids, ask about the kids. If they have dogs, ask about the dogs. Get the conversation started in a relationship way. It is very difficult for people not to say back to you, I've had a really good summer. How about you? You've opened up that dialogue. And then anybody can start saying, oh, me? Well, we didn't go on vacation this year, but I started this great nutritional program. There you go. You got your opening. So there's a lot of ways to get the conversation started. And it's not always easy because you've spoken to this person possibly about many other things in your life. They may know more about you than a lot of people do. But it does change how important it is. If that doesn't do it, then appeal to their fact side. Doctors are hardwired for facts. We like feeling things, but we like information. We like facts. Before I go into how to get to the facts of the matter, questions? Anybody?
Kathy, I'll give people a second to unmute themselves, but in the group chat, there hasn't been any yet. So I know it takes a second sometimes for people to unmute themselves. And if she starts talking again and somebody couldn't figure out how to unmute, just post again in the group chat and I'll make sure next time she asks that you get unmuted. Anybody that has any questions so far?
Okay. Then we'll keep going. All right. As I said, doctors are fact people. It's just the way it is. It's what we need to do. So give us a few facts. Never hurts. I don't say you have to bring in the studies from nutrition and metabolism, but some doctors might like having that information as well. But I always say to patients, start off and tell me why it's important to you and what you're doing. If somebody came in and said to me, doctor, there's something I want to share with you. There's a program that I've been doing, and you know more about my medications and my medical history maybe than I do, and I'd like your input. I'd like to know what you think. I want to tell you a little bit about it so you can tell me if you have any concerns or any suggestions from me. The doctor then feels like they're invited into the conversation. And that's a really good thing. You may get some physicians that just don't want to hear it and are rolling over you and talking about their blood pressure and your blood pressure and everybody's blood pressure. So again, be persistent. Tell them what's going on. Sometimes you have to give them a few pieces of information. The program is a program where I do 2 shakes a day. There's 24 grams of protein per shake. It's a number. It's a fact. You might have gotten their attention. I do some intermittent, nutritionally enhanced fasting. Those are key words. There's good medical literature on intermittent fasting and weight loss and health. Doctors don't get training in nutrition. You may think we know everything about it. We do not. I refer to dietitians as much as I do it myself because there are a lot of things going on. Then I tell people, spell the name of the product. Literally spell it. Isagenix. Again, put it in their head that it is a plan that exists. You're not just talking about something vague. If you want to bring some product information or the study with you, go right ahead. It might be just what that person needs to know that you're serious about it. You've done your research, and maybe they should do a little bit themselves. We don't mind that. We really don't. Not read it right then and there, but it is going to be something we're going to probably go back to. And then you have to realize, again, time is limited. You're not going to get a whole lot more time than what we just said. So you've got to make it work for you. But don't be afraid at all. And then I always say to the doctor, thank you for your time. I appreciate you listening to me about this. I appreciate your feedback. I'd love to hear any other thoughts that you have. It's really important to me that we work as a team to get me in better health. Again, that's an important thing. You go to this physician for all kinds of other things. You might as well go to them to make you healthy rather than to help you only when you're ill. So those are the things that I think are really important in a visit. And I kept it brief because we're going to have to keep it brief. So another round of questions? Anybody?
Dawn has a question. I don't know if she's going to unmute and ask it herself, or I just can, and she can add on to it if she wants to. So Dawn is asking, what about a doctor that is not your doctor, a doctor that you're not already in a relationship with? What is the advice that you have for people in that situation?
Okay. First thing is the first rule. Doctors are people. And maybe we have a little bit more knowledge in some things, but not necessarily in Isagenix. So you're still the expert. You still have information to share. You're not going to assume that somebody on the other end of the conversation knows anything about what you're talking about. It's really nice to be able to say to that person, if you know what their field of interest is, I know you are an athlete. I know that you see a lot of individuals that might be interested in better health. We know that you do a lot of, certain things that may be a way to get into the conversation with them. And that's how I usually start. I had one physician whom I've been working on ever so slowly for almost 8 months now. And I originally thought they might be very interested in the business piece and how he could add this on to his large number of outside interests that he has to make a little bit of money. And then realized he had written a book, and he's a preparedness freak. He's a survivalist. And his book talked all about how we would live if we didn't have grocery stores and electricity. And as I read the beginning of his book, he talked all about the things Peter Greenlaw talks about, all the toxicities, all of the vitamins and minerals. And then it occurred to me, that's how I get to this man. I get to him through good products, the solutions that the plant offers. So sometimes you just have to find what that individual would be most interested in to get through to them. And that's really how I would start it. I know Genevieve has some ideas on prospecting a little more widely, but that's how I would start a conversation.
Yeah, that's actually, Kathy, since it kind of pertains, I was just going to touch on the whole prospecting thing, but really my main theme and the prospecting doctors that are not your own doctor is really what you keep reiterating. They're just human beings. So I don't even know if I'm going to have to say too much of what I was going to say, because you've done such a good job covering that. It's the most important thing to remember, and you literally treat everyone the same. So you get them off the pedestal and just treat them like you would treat anybody else that you're going to have a conversation with. Remember to ask lots of questions, and remember to use your team. Remember to get that support from other people if you are feeling uncomfortable, because it's natural for some of us to get uncomfortable when we think that we need that extra support. But so yeah, you're covering it really, really well.
I also want to mention anybody who's interested in something that Isagenix has put out. Dr. Nick Messina, who Genevieve introduced me to a lot of his information. He's on the Isagenix Scientific Advisory Board, and he has a piece on isagenixhealth.net called Talking to Doctors and Other Health Professionals. And he goes through some of his own suggestions on how to open or have a conversation with physicians. And he's things like use doctor speak. Use the things that are going to get a doctor's attention while talking about how important it is to you. And he started off as a skeptic. And what's really interesting is he said he would very definitely have been off by somebody saying they had amazing weight loss or was doing cellular cleansing. It sounds kind of gitchy. You don't want to come out sounding like you've got some remarkable magic pill going on. So he said that's where he would get back to being very specific about the things that doctors might recognize, such as intermittent fasting. So he had a couple good ideas. Again, that's Talking to Doctors and Other Healthcare Professionals on isagenixhealth.net. And I know you Janice boys like to get on there and watch your podcasts and read your articles, so it's there and it's good. And Genevieve had me watch a webcast that he put together as well, where he talked about how doctors try to incorporate or can try to incorporate this into their offices. So it really touches on a number of issues related to physicians. Okay, that's all I specifically have to say. What else we got?
Does anybody else have any other questions?
Questions?
Do you have anything that you're wanting to add in?
I do. My question, Dr. Kathy, is I know that you have you and Genevieve came up with that ideal health questionnaire, which I have a copy of because Genevieve sent it to me via email. My question is, how do you get doctors to share Isagenix? Because my ex-husband is a physician and he's also using Isagenix. And okay, we're walking a fine line because he is my ex-husband. But I've talked to him a few times. I've given him the health questionnaire. I've given him brochures. I've given him a lookbook. He knows about the program. He's been on the program for 2 months. He's a general surgeon, but how do I get him to share?
Okay. The important thing is he needs to figure out what he thinks it will help his patients, how he thinks it will help his patients. In surgery, it's probably preoperative preparedness, postoperative healing. These are all really big. Protein is big in healing. Vitamins are big in healing. It might be something that he sees somebody and realizes that they could do better. Again, he needs to kind of figure out what it is that he feels comfortable making a recommendation. And it's not the easiest thing. Not everybody wants to do that. He needs to also understand that he is giving these people advice about all kinds of things. Why not give them advice about this? It's nothing different. To make the bonuses from having these people sign up, don't feel bad about that. You make money off of every one of these patients that walks into your office. They came to you. They're asking you for, you're the expert. Give them some good advice. And Isagenix is good advice.
Yeah.
That's about how I think I would approach it.
Tara,
his biggest thing is he does, we don't have a gastroenterologist in Effingham yet. And he does a lot of colonoscopies. So it's a lot of GI surgeries. We live in a small town. So a lot of his stuff, and I've tried to explain that to him, how the cleansing, and I've sent him articles. I had Peter try to hook us up with Dr. Ruggiero. Trust me, I've tried everything. It took me a year to get him on the program. Now I just would like him to share it maybe a little bit.
That's what
We aren't early adopters in the medical world. We take time. I'll defend him a little on that one. But you've done all the right things. It's up to him to, at some point, it will click. There will be a patient. There will be a situation where he feels almost like it's boiling out of him that he has to say something. And that'll be the beginning of it.
Right.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
I'm gonna get my words in here. Tara, again, remember what I said when I started this with her. It took Kathy 2 years to say she was finally interested, and then it took 6 months, and it was her. It was her. I didn't come to her and say, when are you going to share this with your patients? She came to me and said, it's time for me to share this with my patients. They deserve to feel as good as I'm feeling. So and for him, it could be never. If he's not ready and comfortable with that, there's nothing that you can do about that part except be patient, let him do his thing. And when he does come, you're going to be ready. I mean, if you're giving him all that stuff now and he doesn't want it, he hasn't asked for it, there's just no point until he's ready.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So are there any other questions? Sound like somebody else maybe was there.
I think Zach has a question.
There. I do real quick. So the one thing, my sister-in-law is she's a OBGYN doctor, and she gets patients that come in all the time. And her biggest struggle, Kathy, I really appreciate you, going to reach out to her, or she's going to reach out to you and can converse when she's ready. She's on the program and they're doing well. I guess the biggest thing that I hear from her is the ethical standpoint. And that's the biggest thing that she's having a hard time trying to get past. We talked about there's multiple ways. If you don't want to do it that way, then I can enroll them. And, if you don't want the compensation, fine. If you do, I'll cut you a check. I mean, she's trying to get past that. She's just one of those people that are all about ethical. So from your standpoint, what do you think? How do we kind of approach that?
I had a real problem with that as well. Ask Genevieve. Of course, I had in my head that I was selling this stuff and that this was somehow different than what I did as a physician. It wasn't until it occurred to me that all I was doing was telling people about something good, which I do every day. I tell them how they should be watching their salt and doing their exercise. All I did was added and possibly a plan like Isagenix into the mix, and I was comfortable with it. I tell all of my patients up front, if you do enroll, I get a bonus for you doing so. I'm going to tell you that right up front. They have a problem with that. That's their problem. It can't be my problem. I have to realize that I'm comfortable with the information that I'm giving them. So I do tell them up front, and we do have long conversations. I call Genevieve if it's something where we think I need to be a little more hands-off. In fact, I was much more hands-off on. I passed everybody on to her directly because I didn't want to be that close to it. But then I realized when they had questions, they were calling me anyway because they call me about everything else. So it was hard to separate that sometimes. You do have to draw a little bit of a line. You have to say to them, my doctor time with you is during our office visits. My Isagenix time, that may be on a different calendar. We're not going to take your visit talking about your cleanse the other day. That's not, you've got to separate that out a little bit. But once I got comfortable with the fact that all Isagenix was another good recommendation, it made it a little bit easier for me.
And Kathy, this is perfect because you already talked about Dr. Nick Messina, and you told me that it was one you heard him say. I definitely recommend everybody that's on this call, maybe we can try to find that. Kathy, if you know where it is, find the link to that.
I have to go looking for it again.
Okay. So I'll write a note about that. But he was having the same issue, and he was telling a patient went to him and said, why did I have to hear about this from your front office person? Why did you not tell me about this? Do you not want what's best for me? And he told the patient, I pretty much have the same ethical thing. It's definitely normal for doctors to have that. That's what they're taught. And he said, I felt uncomfortable. I didn't want to feel like I was actually benefiting and getting paid to be making this recommendation. And the patient said to him, do you not understand that every time I walk through your door, you're being compensated? And essentially, and he said, that's when the light bulb went off, and that did it for him. And then he realized that he was actually being really selfish and not seeing it all the way through. And that's when he really started sharing. Okay. Zach's nodding. I can see him nodding. Okay, good. All right. So we just got a couple minutes left, and I have some last minute things I'd like to cover, but I also want to prioritize questions. Does anybody else have anything else that they would like to know? And as always, we can always continue the conversation in the event, and I'm going to post the Ideal Health questionnaire, and we'll try to find that podcast too.
Can I say something, Genevieve?
Of course.
Well, here, the thing is, honestly, if your patients get healthier and they don't come to see you as much, you're making less money at that point, right, Dr. Kathy?
I don't know if we can make less money than insurance is paying us, but yes.
Right, so in theory, you're not making more money off of them, you're making less money by getting them healthier.
That sounds good.
So, or at least it's a wash, right?
Right.
I like that. Oh, I like that. That's good. Definitely hadn't thought about it that way. That's brilliant. Kathy, was there anything else, Dr. Kathy, was there anything else that you were wanting to add in or finish up with before I?
No, I covered everything. If anybody has any questions, you can certainly post them and I'll answer for you if I can.
Okay, great. Perfect. And of course, we would love your feedback as well, and in the group, that would be great. So I just want to take a second. We have just a couple more minutes, and we have got Celebration sneaking up really quick. I know a whole bunch of people on this call are going to be there, but I wanted to take a minute to make sure that if you're not going to be there, that I know I've told a couple people this, but what are we, 2.5 weeks out, that you want to make sure that you still block it off in your calendar. There is the opportunity to be following Isagenix Celebration live stream, and there's so much information. And no,
There's no live stream this year.
okay, all right. And I saw something come through my email that I didn't get to read yet. So what are they doing differently?
You have to pay $99.
Okay.
It's a little different. The email came through a couple hours ago.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance. Okay, thank you for that. So the bottom line is it's still an opportunity to get LinkedIn and still hear, even if you were unable for whatever reason, whether it was financial or whatever other reason, that you still have the opportunity to get that information. And I want to make sure that you take advantage of that. Just because you're not going, especially if you're one of those people saying that you wish that you were, look into that. And I apologize, I didn't have that most updated information, but look into that and ask us about that so that we can make sure that you are as much a part of things as, or almost as much a part of things as we are being there. It's really amazing. I've definitely done those before when I couldn't make it to an event, and it really made a difference. And it was pretty great to be able to watch it with my kids too. They were actually taking stuff out of it as well. So let us know if you have any questions about that part. Are there any links or resources that Dr. Kathy recommends sharing with doctors? Any links or resources in particular that you recommend sharing, Dr. Kathy?
Isagenixhealth.net is a good spot. Lots of resources there. Dr. Ina's calls, I understand, are really quite useful. I've only caught a couple of them, but can ask a lot of questions in there, and you get a more specific bend to the answers. Doctors may be interested in hearing that. And certainly I refer them to the couple of articles and studies that were done using intermittent fasting versus standard cardiac diet.
Oh, and I actually did want to say that as well, because this actually didn't come up. So thank you for those. That's perfect. This comes up all the time for a lot of times, and I'm dealing with one person right now that's asking these questions. If you have somebody on your team, or actually not on your team, if you have somebody that's interested but wants to talk to their doctor first, go to isaproduct.com. You can go to the product list, any product. All the 70 products are there on isaproduct.com. You go under products, you click on either the individual product or the system, and you can click on the ingredients, print those out. Ginny and I just had somebody that did that today to bring that to their doctor. So it's a really, really important resource that we've had people do many, many, many times. Okay, I'm just checking to see here. Tara, can you post the links to the Dr. Colgan articles in the event? Okay, so we're now past time, so I want to be in integrity with that, and we'll wrap it up here. And Dawn's asking Tara to to post, and Tara's already answering yes. So definitely go back to our event, our Facebook event, for some follow-ups and some links that are going to be posted that will help you continue to be sharing with doctors. And Kathy, Dr. Kathy, thank you so much for your time and your effort and your love and care for your patients and the world, really, that you've taken the time to share with all of us.
Oh, well, I want to thank you guys. It was nice to share and get this team. I just love the approach. It's not a big doctor thing team, so it's good. Love it.
We appreciate you. You're getting lots of thank yous in the group chat before we turn this off. So just want to make sure you know that. And thank you everybody for joining us tonight. And we will see you again next week. Tara, what's the topic for the call next week?
Is it my week?
Yeah.
No, we're the last week.
Is that next week? Is the last week?
Oh, three-way calls. How to get if it's our week, it's how to do a three-way call, how to get your people on three-way calls.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yep.
That's what you guys have to look forward. That's what we all have to look forward to next Wednesday, the 27th.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night.